everyone, I'm Polona Mivšek. I come from Slovenia. I'm working at the Faculty of Health Sciences, Ljubljana, at the midwifery department. I'm a midwifery teacher, and at the same time, I'm a specialist in the sexology. So what I'm realizing in the last few years that I'm working with the students is that the midwives would need a sexology program or sexology subject in their study programs, because midwives, we are dealing with very intimate field of practice. We are performing certain procedures that invade very much into the intimacy of the woman and the couple. So therefore, we must be aware of all these issues that we deal with. So we prepared this presentation together with my colleagues, Wood Gianotten, also a sexologist and obstetrician from the Netherlands, and Sam Gannes, psychologist and sexologist from the Belgium. We are all involved in the sexology subjects in different European member countries, and we are noticing the need of in-depth education about this issue. If you are not aware, already in 1975, World Health Organization stated that all health professionals should have some basic scientific knowledge about human sex behavior. And only a few things changed after that. If we are looking the study programs of different health professionals all across the world, we see that this field is in education still neglected, and therefore also the health professionals are usually poorly prepared to speak about the sexuality issues with their clients. However, the research show that the clients, our patients, kind of expect that we bring the subject out and discuss with them the sexual issues, especially the couples during the pregnancy and the postpartum period are very eager for the advice and consultations about this matter. However, as I said, a lot of midwives are kind of afraid of speaking about that because they don't feel confident to grab the issues. But we must be aware that the sexual health is also an important part of the general health picture. So we need to discuss this more with our clients. As I already said, midwives are very much involved in the intimate sphere of the women lives. So when we are performing the vaginal exams or helping with breastfeeding, or when we are protecting the perineum during the delivery, those are all very intimate touches. So the midwives need to be aware of that, and they need to perform all these procedures with the high ethical standards, with the empathy and with a lot of communication with the clients, so that they know what to expect and they have all the information to make the consent. So at the same time, we as the health professional who invade into this part of the woman's life, we must be aware also of our own sexual hindrances, our own prejudice, attitudes, and standpoints regarding the topic of the sexuality, And this was the main aim of the subject that I wanted to create for the midwifery students. Not basic anatomy teaching, but discussing about the attitudes and own beliefs. So I put into the midwifery study program, bachelor program in 2004, a subject called sexology and midwifery. It was performed as compulsory subject of the third year, the last year of the study. And I wanted to create it a little bit differently. I didn't want just to lecture, but I wanted to students to be active. So I perform a lot of role-playing, problem-based case studies and discussions. We usually confront ideas in pro and contra discussions. And I must say that I was at the beginning a little bit afraid how students will accept it. But I was pleasantly surprised because they all wanted to attend it, despite the fact that it was not a must. So with the discussion and the reflection and insights, I just wanted them to identify and reflect upon their own attitudes. Because I believe that you cannot change other people, but if you make them aware of what their obstacles are, they might also change the behavior on their own. So we must be aware that the attitudes towards the sexuality is based on a lot of different issues. Some things we bring from our own primary family. Some things we bring from the society we live in, and some things we bring with our personality, experiences, and so on. So it is a very complex issue and matter, and we cannot change it in a day. But if we become aware that maybe some prejudice that we have are not based on the scientific grounds, maybe we start to question them, and this might lead to our change of behaviors. So after 10 years of lecturing this subject in the third year of midwifery study, I performed a study because I want to evaluate if this what I do even matters, or could it be improved. So I sent the online survey to all my ex-students, now already graduates, who are working in the clinical settings. And it was almost 200 participants. And I wanted them to evaluate what they have learned, whether that the subject sexology of midwifery covered is helpful for their work that they perform, and so on. So almost all of them wrote to me that they were very satisfied with the subject, and they agreed that it should stay in the last year because they are already more mature. They already think a little bit different than in the first year of the study. And I was surprised that more than half of them thought that this subject should be mandatory, so a must for everyone. But they also told me that sometimes that they felt exposed because they wanted to share something very personal, but they have to say it in front of all class. We have a small intake of midwifery students. It's around 30 of them in the class, but obviously they would prefer even smaller groups. And When I asked them whether I should include also other health professionals, because I get a lot of questions from the nursing students and the physiotherapists whether they can join my subject. They were a little bit withdrawn. They told me that they would prefer to stay in the groups where only midwives are presented, because they feel more comfortable to speak their own ideas. I was also very happy that a lot of them told me that the subject and the contents of the subject were helpful also for their work, their midwifery practice. And they told me that the debates were their favorite method, so that I should with them, and they don't like the seminar works and written homeworks. So the discussion, I think it's the subject that they are in favor. So I got from this little research direction that I should carry on. I will probably change a little bit in the context of performance, so a little bit more active students work, like debates with probably some guest speakers that they can offer some topics that I cannot. I will try to aim at performing also the discussions in smaller groups. However, we are in this case, our hands are tied because of the organization of the study at the university level. So I also see the need that other health professionals get some insights and some discussions about the sexuality issues, because I think otherwise students from other disciplines wouldn't ask me to accept them into my subject. But maybe the solution would be that they are in the separate groups. So the group of midwives, group of nurses, group of physiotherapists. I also think this would be more considerable because of their nature of work. They usually do different stuff, so maybe they have different problems than the midwives. Already World Health Organization in 1975 kind of suggested the stages that need to be taken in order to raise the competent health professionals who are capable of advising and dealing with sexuality issues. And they suggest 3 different stages. At first, they need to have professional knowledge, and the other stage is that they need to be aware of their own attitudes. And in order to be confident, they need also very strong skills in communicating with the clients and counseling. So we are not just giving the advices, but we want to counsel in an active listening process. We want the clients to come up through the process of counseling to their own suggestions of the solutions to their problems. So we need to have all these 3 stages covered in the process of education about the sexuality in the undergraduate study program. So with my two co-authors of today's presentation, we became very strongly aware that the midwifery textbooks are not covering the subject of sexuality enough. They are usually limited to the information about contraception and how the sexuality changes in the postpartum period, and which are the medical conditions in the pregnancy that do not allow the sexuality during the pregnancy, but otherwise there is very few information. So we decided to write a book. Currently, we are working on the chapters that you see here on this slide. We wanted to give at first some basic information and then to talk about the physiological periods, pregnancy, birth, and the postpartum, and how they affect sexuality. And the next big module is nature losing its way, when we deal with the sexuality issues in the complicated pregnancy and the complicated postpartum. And we also touch a few of special topics like the non-mainstream orientations, how are the male experiences of sexuality during these periods, how the sexual, what are the sexual effects of the trauma that women experience during childbirth, and so on. So in the last chapter, we also provide a few information of how sexuality should be included in the midwifery study programs, and how to approach to these issues, and what are the main midwifery competencies with regards to sexuality. I'm very proud because we were already endorsed by the several professional organizations that you see listed here on the right side. So European Midwifery Association supports us, World Association for Sexual Health thinks this is a very good idea, and we already got the publisher. So hopefully in the 2022, we will be able to publish this book. Currently, we are looking for the resources to do it an open access book, because we would like a lot of people to use it, to read it, and to use any information that they think it's relevant to their practice. So hopefully we will also get this fund, so that people won't have to buy a book, but it will be freely accessible to everyone. So thank you very much for the opportunity to speak here. I think this is a little bit neglected area, and I really hope that with speaking in the events like this, I kind of shake people and remind them that this is also an important issue that has to be included in the education of the future health professionals. Thank you very much for your attention, and if you have any questions, I'm here.